Hi everyone, welcome to ARCHway's virtual fundraising gala and auction. So excited to have you guys here today. I am joined by my co-host, Jordan Hampton. I'm going to introduce myself, Jordan will introduce himself, and then we'll kick things off for you guys. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Emily Young. I'm the CEO, COO of ARCHway Institute. I'm also a person in long-term recovery. To me, that means that I no longer use substances as a way of coping with my mental health. Another little tidbit about me is that I used to teach 7th grade English. So I taught 7th grade at Parkway Central Middle School in the Parkway School District. Go Colts. But I actually, after 6 years, I decided that really because of my experiences, kind of seeing the impact that addiction, that mental health has on families, really. I really decided to take a leap of faith and switch careers, and that led me here. So I started out as a volunteer at Prevent Ed, formerly in the ADA, moved over to Assisted Recovery Centers of America, and then became an epic outreach coach and worked with ARCHway. So that's where I am. And I'm happy to be here today. So Jordan, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Emily. My name is Jordan Hampton. I am the director of Recovery House of St. Louis. I am also a certified peer specialist with the ARCHway Institute, an advocate for hope with the ARCHway Institute, as well as a certified peer specialist with Prevent Ed. I get the opportunity to consult with Department of Mental Health as a certified peer specialist. Also get to work with the Missouri Coalition of Recovery Support Providers as a board member, also helping out with their housing accreditation team. And so that's me.
So tonight, by the end of the night, you are definitely going to know a little bit about ARCHway and what we do. I would say a whole lot, actually. So I always start off by saying ARCHway does 3 things. We help to connect people to the right resources, support, and life-saving care needed to initiate a pathway toward long-term recovery. We help provide financial assistance to recovery-oriented systems of care. And we do a ton of education and awareness in order to help diminish stigma around the disease of addiction. So you will definitely hear kind of those same elements throughout the night. And then in addition, you will really get some of the faces and voices of people like Jordan and I in recovery, and also the faces and voices of the ARCHway community. So ARCHway is a giant community. We have people in recovery, caregivers, community leaders, business partners, and then people involved in criminal justice and education, because we believe that it takes a community to help people recover. The main purpose, though, of tonight is to ignite the hope that recovery from the disease of addiction is possible. That is ARCHway's vision. And so I wanted to ask Jordan about that. What do you think? How do you think ARCHway ignites hope, Jordan?
I think that the ARCHway Institute ignites hope in many different ways. A few of those ways we're fueled by passion. We're fueled by love. We're fueled by the loss of loved ones. And we're fueled as a team that believes that recovery is possible, and we are hungry to show that.
I would also add in there too that ARCHway ignites hope for both people who are currently struggling and in active addiction, and also for their caregivers. So there is recovery on both sides. So for the people who are struggling and for the caregivers, I wholeheartedly believe in that, and ARCHway really strives to help both with their situation that they're in. We are about $120,000 towards our goal of $150,000 tonight. So proceeds from this event will support ARCHway ARCHway's ability to increase access to treatment and recovery resources. We provide grants to recovery-oriented systems of care. We also connect people to those resources. So all those funds help to increase that access to treatment and recovery, and that's really part of the reason why we're here as well.
And I'd like to say a special thanks to everyone who has sponsored and donated thus far. We know that this would not be possible without you. We would not be able to provide the scholarships and grants that we do without your support. So I know that I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I know Emily has some specific shout outs that she'd like to give.
Yes. So I'm going to give some shout outs to our top tier sponsors. So thank you to ARCHway Hope Circle sponsors, Ulico Management Company, and an anonymous Hope Circle sponsor. Thank you to ARCHway Leader Circle sponsors, Laborers Local 110, SAK Construction, the Ben Lucas Foundation, Parker, the Cape Coral Police Department, Cricket Brown Glad, and Lee Health, as well as Darren and Pam Robbins. We actually had over 150 different sponsors for this event, and there were a few that rolled in just today. So know that I can't read every single sponsor out, but know that you are very much appreciated, and you will be celebrated throughout the event.
And you'll be able to help us throughout the night by donating on ARCHway's website, as well as accessing the virtual auction. I know there's a few items that I have my eyes on, but those links will be in the chat throughout the program.
Yes, definitely check out the links. I think that I need either the yoga package or one of the vacations. After planning this event, it was we've been planning it for several months now. I think before the holidays, we started planning this event. So, Jordan, what are you going to bid on?
It's not that I'm bidding, it's that I'm not going home without the polo basket.
There you go. That basket, we need that basket to go, so I appreciate it. Okay, so, and on that note, thank you very much to all the businesses, all the individuals who donated to our auction. I was humbled when I went to it's been a difficult year, let's say that. So I was very humbled when I went to businesses, and businesses were able to provide some of the auction items. So we very much appreciate all those.
And don't forget to check out the Fund a Need items in the auction. As we all know, there's many gaps, there's many needs. So any donations that go towards those Fund a Needs, we're greatly appreciative of.
Yeah, I think we are. I know we had a few donations that came in for those, and we will be updating you throughout the night on, especially at the end of the night, on how those are going. So we also want to thank everyone in attendance here tonight. It really, like I said, the purpose is to ignite hope. You guys are a big part of igniting hope. So take what you hear tonight and please share it.
You know, our board member, Dr. Fred Rotnick, says to not let a good crisis go to waste. And I think one of those ways this year that we've been able to capitalize on that is, you know, ARCHway has always been a national organization. And being a national organization, we have been able to reach many different homes this year being virtual. So while, you know, some may not think that it is as good as in person, we believe that we've been able to reach more and involve more of our support network this year. So we are thankful for that opportunity.
Yes, our national audience is very much represented here tonight. So if you are here, the chat is open for you guys on Facebook and on YouTube. So definitely introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. If you are a longtime supporter of ARCHway, if you know the founding family, the Stuckey family, or the Menzies family, definitely let us know. If you are one of our community partners, please share that as well. Last but not least, in terms of thanking people for coming, we also want to thank people who are not able to be with us here tonight.
Yes, so we want to take a moment in the program here for We've lost a beloved ARCHway supporter and member in Marcy Smith last week. So we are going to, Emily she's put together a few beautiful words about Marcy. We're going to take a moment of silence, and then at the end of the program, we have a little bit of a segment that's in her honor. So
I will say just a couple things about Marcy. So Marcy was a strong and confident woman. She was vulnerable in telling her story, and just in her friendship, and it really allowed you to be vulnerable back with her. It's really what made her an amazing peer support. And also, Marcy really lit up when it came to women's needs in recovery and really helping women succeed in their recovery. And so ARCHway definitely wants to be intentional about raising funds, doing fundraisers that really support women and women's needs. That's definitely what Marcy would have wanted. And so we are going to go ahead and take that moment of silence. Join us, please. Thank you all. We very much, again, appreciate you. I know Marcy would appreciate you guys being here tonight as well. Towards the end of the night, like Jordan said, we are going to have a little special video memorial for Marcy, but also some of the others that we've lost.
And you can find, I know Marcy was very proud of having this and having this tragedy happen. I think it just reiterates the importance of having and the giving to the Hope Funds. And you can find the link to the Marcy Smith Hope Fund in the chat throughout the program. And I knew Marcy well, and I know that she would say that the show must go on. So there's no better way than to do that than to draw our attendance prize.
So we're excited about this. So the prize is a trip to the award-winning 5-star boutique in Panama. The trip is valued at around $3,000. If you registered with a donation of $50 or more, you were entered into this drawing. I know Jordan and I took ourselves out of the drawing, but we very well might invite ourselves along with you. So Jordan, you want to announce the winners?
And the winners are Larry and Dee Miller. So congratulations, Larry and Dee. If you feel so compelled to invite Emily and I, we would gladly accept.
Most definitely. So before we go to a short break, we're going to hear a little bit about our Advocates for Hope program, but I wanted to hear, Jordan, what are you most excited about for tonight?
Yeah, I think that I'm most excited to hear the Colton Baker's keynote speech. It's been long awaited, so I'm looking forward to hearing that.
I'm super excited about the book promotion, mostly because, like you guys said, you haven't heard really what it's about, so you'll get a good glimpse of, some of the faces and the voices of people in that book. And it also shares kind of how ARCHway started. So you'll get a little bit of ARCHway, a little bit of recovery in there as well. So now we're going to go ahead and transition into our short little break video about Advocates for Hope.
the Advocates for Hope program is a really cool opportunity to help plug individuals and families into quality care, right? And so one of the biggest struggles people see in this field is, either a lack of treatment options, a lack of funding opportunities, and not knowing where to send a loved one when they're struggling, right? And so this is why we use peer sports specialists as advocates for hope, because they can share their personal recovery story to help motivate an individual who's struggling, to be able to share their experiences, as Jacob said, to help move them through the stages of change, and then, to know what quality treatment resources are available. Jake shared a little bit about his story, a little bit about mine. It was similar. And I ended up in the hospital, and my family members were trying to find quality treatment providers for me. And they had a really rough time, and if Advocates for Hope had been available to them back in 2014, that situation could have looked a little differently. And not only is it peers sharing their recovery story with individuals who are struggling with substance use and mental health, but we also have Advocates for Hope that are caregivers who have had family members or loved ones struggle with substance use. So while we can have peers reach out to people struggling, we can also have caregivers reach out to the loved ones of that person struggling to kind of create a wraparound care for that person.
Always like to start off by thanking our donors and our sponsors. We could not do this without you guys. Thank you. We're going to talk a little bit about ARCHway's work in the communities that we are a part of. So we are a national organization, but probably our biggest followings, I would say, are in Florida, Missouri, and even Ohio. So in Ohio, we work with Glen Bay, we work with Hope Recovery Community Organization a little bit as well. But also I wanted, because it's so fresh, I wanted to talk a little bit about our Florida partners. And then Jordan will talk a little bit about our Missouri partners. So in Florida, we have lots of partners. So we work with, we love working with the Cape Coral Police Department, some of the recovery houses like Lion, Surrender House, Drug Free Punta Gorda too. We just finished up an event in Florida. It was our Florida Golf and Tennis event, and we work with Charlotte Behavioral Healthcare and the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. And the event raises funds for their addiction recovery initiative. That initiative allows for, you'll hear about it a little bit more tonight, but it allows for anyone who's struggling with a substance use disorder, they can present to the sheriff's office and a deputy will take them to Charlotte Behavioral Health Care. And because of ARCHway's fundraising efforts and that tennis and golf event, we are able to help fund treatment at Charlotte Behavioral Health Care. So that's just a little bit about our Florida family. A lot of you guys are here, so definitely introduce yourselves. Jordan, why don't you talk about Missouri?
Yeah, so ARCHway has had the opportunity to work with many different groups here in Missouri. St. Louis University with Dr. Rotnick and Katie Roots. We've had the opportunity to really get our certified peer specialists in the classroom and to better understand, how to be a better peer and really kind of refine their craft. And also the opportunity for SLU students to learn from our certified peer specialists. So that's been a really fun collaborative effort. Also, a big partnership that we have here in Missouri is with Prevent Ed. Prevent Ed they do many things very well. They have a very creative, scrappy, progressive, fun team. And so, their emphasis is on a lot of prevention work and education. And so it was only made sense that ARCHway linked up with them arm in arm. And it's not just been a collaboration, it's been families uniting. And so I think that, that's been just fantastic. And we've had a couple other collaborations with ARCA's mobile unit, being able to really have our advocates for hope step up and receive some calls through there, as well as working with Addiction is Real and Heal Stop Heroin with the International Overdose Awareness Day. They've been great to work with, great people, and we're super fortunate to be able to work with them.
So tonight, that is a great lead into the ARCHway Community Award, which is being presented to Prevent Ed, leaders in prevention in the Eastern region of Missouri. And I just wanted to explain a little bit about the awards that ARCHway gives out. So ARCHway gives out an award every year at our annual gala. And there are 4 ARCHway awards. They line up with our ARCH acronym. So awareness, recovery, community, and health. Awareness of the disease to help diminish stigma. Recovery for, we believe that recovery is possible when people are provided with the right resources and support and life-saving care. Community, and that it takes a community in order to fight the addiction epidemic. And health, and that when someone recovers, we really want to make sure we're treating the whole person. So the physical, the emotional, the mental, the relational, the spiritual symptoms of the disease. And the Community Award, which is what Prevent Ed is being presented with tonight, they are getting this award for all the work that the prevention work they do in the community, but specifically for inviting peer support specialists into that work. Jordan works with Prevent Ed, so I wanted him to talk a little bit about what he does and what he enjoys about Prevent Ed.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. I've very much enjoyed the work that I've got to do with Prevent Ed, and one of the specific roles that I've had with them is their guided program, and their guided program is the definition of prevention work. It's working with adolescents who are involved in incidents that has to do with substance use, substance misuse. And oftentimes those adolescents don't necessarily need residential treatment, but it's enough that it should be tended to. And so I work with various counties here in St. Louis Metropolitan, and we work with the family, we work with the adolescent that has been involved in the circumstance, and we really look to find the right outlets for that person. We really comb through the decision-making process. We really look at the dynamic between the parent and the adolescent, and try to see if we can help even mend the relationship to some capacity. So it's joyous, it's refreshing, it's really fun work having the chance to get in front of the problem that we're seeing an epidemic of today. So without further ado,
let's go ahead and hear from our partners Prevent Ed. ARCHway ignites hope through its Advocates for Hope program. This program is designed so that peers who are thriving in recovery and caregivers who have been impacted by a loved one's addiction can offer compassionate and caring conversations to those struggling with substance use disorders. They also work hard to connect these individuals and families to the right resources, support, and life-saving care needed to initiate a pathway toward long-term recovery. This peer-to-peer support means that those with lived experience can come alongside that person and help lift them up in their recovery. It's for this reason that I'm excited to present tonight's Community Award. This award is being presented to Prevent Ed, leaders in prevention in the Eastern region of Missouri. They are receiving this award for their ability to incorporate peers into their community prevention work. Most recently, they have started a peer network in Franklin County in order to increase access to treatment and recovery resources in that community. It's for this reason that they're receiving the award tonight. Here tonight to accept this award is Jenny Armbruster, Deputy Executive Director of Prevent Ed, and Nicole Dossie, Executive Director of Prevent Ed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. In 2019, we had a staffing kind of availability, and we could go more of the traditional route, but we put our heads together and decided that we instead wanted to explore the opportunity that peers presented. And so we put our heads together with John, and he had all the great ideas, as he often does. And he brought along several peers to help us with adolescent assessments, to help us with adult assessments, and to help us with community trainings. So since then, we have worked with Colton, and he's been out in the field providing specialized training to first responders, to people who work with adults and kids specifically to identify overdoses. But then also we've been working with Jordan, and he has been our boots on the ground in Jefferson County, working with teens who have started to experiment with substances. We could not be more grateful for our partnership and wanted to keep it going. So that led us to Franklin County.
We were fortunate to receive some rural health funding in Franklin County, and that funding allowed us to complete an in-depth needs assessment. We had peer input, we had consultants and advising on what were the strengths and what were the gaps in this rural community. And as we completed this assessment, what really seemed to stick out most to us was the availability for people to connect and move through a continuum of substance use disorder, addressing concerns, treatment, recovery. And so we continued that work as we were awarded more funding to implement a peer service program. We couldn't have done that without the support of our peers, as Nicole mentioned, to help kind of give us what are some lessons learned in the world of certified peer specialists, what they think are best practice models, what's worked, what's not worked. And through that, we've been able to develop a pretty robust peer service program in Franklin County. And we continue to consult with the peer work that's happening across the Eastern region and continue to look at ways we can expand that work and grow and help people that might be struggling in the community. In addition to that, we've relied on peers and connected with peers through networking, through growing and supporting other avenues such as MoPros, Coalition of Peers, and figuring out how we can connect peers that were building their capacity in Franklin County. How can we connect them with other peers that are already doing this work? And Prevent Ed has always supported MoPros. When we could have in-person meetings, we would share our office space with them. We've offered some technical assistance help with things like strategic planning, and we continue to find the real value in working with peers.
We're so grateful for this award, and we look forward to many more years of future partnerships.
Welcome back, and congratulations again to Prevent Ed. I just cannot say enough about their team, and Jenny and Nicole are fantastic. So again, thank you to our donors and our sponsors. Make the magic happen. And thanks in advance for all of the silent auction items that are going quickly. So please, hop on there if there's something that you have your eye on. That will be ending at, I believe, 8:30 p.m. So make sure that you hop on there and make your bids.
And next we're going to hear from Colton Baker, our keynote speaker. He's going to talk a little bit about his personal recovery, but also his work as a certified peer specialist. But what I think you'll really get out of it is the rippling effect of recovery. We hear about the rippling effect of addiction. When one person is struggling with a substance use disorder, that person tends to affect, they say, like 5 people: parents, siblings, friends, coworkers, even pets. but the rippling effect of recovery is even greater. When one person recovers, they help the next person who helps the next person. And I think you're going to get that with Colton and from his speech tonight. Jordan, too, I think has a story about Colton and his impact on his recovery.
Yeah. Speaking of the next person helping the next person, so Colton was a peer specialist at Southeast Missouri Behavioral Health when I was stepping into recovery. So Colton was my first mentor. He was the catalyst to me getting into any type of recovery community and to recovery, volunteering with the ARCHway Institute, and many of the other organizations that we've even mentioned tonight. Colton has been he's been a brother, he's been a friend, he's been a fantastic mentor. I can't thank him enough for everything that he has done for me. Now I get the opportunity to do what he has done for me and be a vessel to those that are coming behind us. So there's a lot of thanks that goes to Colton, and I know that he's got a great story that he's going to share with us. And so I think Emily has a few more words before we break to the Colton spiel.
Yeah, I'll just add to that too. When I first started in my role as a certified peer specialist, Colton was definitely a mentor to me there as well. So he was definitely a go-to, as was Jordan. When I became an EPIC coach, they always know the right resources, the right thing to say, the right thing to do in certain situations. So it was much needed and much appreciated working with both of them. So I'm excited to hear from Colton tonight, and I hope you guys enjoy. ARCHway ignites hope through sharing stories of hope. So I'm excited tonight to announce our keynote speaker. Colton Baker is a person in long-term recovery, and he is a certified peer specialist. As a peer, he wears many hats. So he works as an advocate for hope with ARCHway. He's the lead EPIC recovery coach through ComTree. He does community education for Prevent Ed, and he is an executive member of MoPros. In these roles, Colton works to diminish the stigma around the disease of addiction and to close the gaps in care for those impacted by substance use and co-occurring mental health disorders. He does this through communication with a variety of stakeholders and through developing and implementing recovery resources for those in need. Colton shares his story in order to connect with his fellow peers and in order to guide them toward long-term recovery. He is a true advocate for hope for those he works with, and he's here tonight to tell you all about it.
Good evening, everybody. I am grateful to be here with you guys tonight, to be able to share my recovery story with you. But I think first it's important that I discuss my experiences with substance use and mental health for a number of reasons, but to normalize conversations around struggling with substance use and mental health, as well as to normalize the conversations about struggling, about needing help, and about bringing in loved ones and support systems to really help you get better. My experiences with substance use began as an early teenager through social settings, but I quickly realized that I could use substances like alcohol and marijuana to help treat the mental health symptoms I was struggling with. I struggled with depression from an early age. I struggled with pretty severe OCD from an early age, and realized that, when I was drinking or when I was using marijuana, it tamped down those symptoms. unbeknownst to me, I was using really unhealthy coping mechanisms to try to treat the mental health symptoms I was struggling with. That's why it's so important that organizations like Prevent Ed facilitate these prevention programs for young people to, one, reduce the stigma surrounding mental health, but two, to provide access points for young people to receive help. When I was struggling, I felt misunderstood, I felt isolated, and felt like nobody really understood what I was going through, and therefore those people could not help me, even though I had family members, friends, community organizations that were there, ready, and willing. I didn't know that recovery from mental health and substance use was possible. As I got older, my substance use progressed pretty rapidly. I moved from alcohol and marijuana into harder substances like cocaine and opiates. And once I was introduced to opiates, my substance use progressed rapidly and devolved to a pretty unhealthy state. Once I experienced the psychological addiction to opiates, as well as the physical dependence and the physical tolerance, I didn't see a way out. I did not see a hope for the future or really a way to get better. It wasn't until family members and friends really sat me down and spoke about how my substance use was impacting them negatively, for me to take an inward look and really realize that, I was not getting the results out of life that I was seeking. Substance use was no longer alleviating mental health symptoms, it was making them worse. And I just was not, I was not who I wanted to be, and I was not getting the results out of life that I was looking for. So I went to treatment. I tried to get help. First time I accessed treatment was in 2012 at Centerpoint Hospital, where I was introduced to a lot of recovery access points that I had never seen before, whether it be medication-assisted treatment, access to cognitive behavioral therapy, and a number of other community support organizations to help people struggling. Unfortunately, my first go at recovery did not last for very long. Once I was discharged, I went back to using substances up to and including opioids pretty rapidly. It was not until 2014 I engaged in recovery for the second time. I engaged in recovery for a second time after I had a motor vehicle accident brought on by a seizure from withdrawal from opiates and benzodiazepines, which was a real eye-opener to myself, and led the support system that I had, family members and friends, to really push for me to engage in the recovery process for a second time. The second time of engaging in recovery really opened my eyes and really put me on a path to lead me to be standing here talking to you guys today. In 2014, I went to the Assisted Recovery Centers of America. While I was there, I was introduced to really the three most impactful treatment modalities that I had seen thus far. First being medication-assisted treatment, the second being recovery housing, and the third being certified peer specialists. Through my stay at ARCHway, I was prescribed buprenorphine to alleviate my withdrawal symptoms and help stabilize me physically. Throughout my stay at ARCHway, I was tapered off of buprenorphine and I was introduced to Vivitrol. Vivitrol is a long-acting suspended injection of naltrexone that lasts for roughly 28 days. Vivitrol, for the first time, provided a healthy mindset of, I can't use today, I can't use tomorrow. What steps can I take to further my recovery, to better my situation, and really put me in a position for success? Vivitrol addressed my cravings for opioids, it addressed my cravings for alcohol, and just really provided that added layer of security that I needed to really engage in the recovery process. The other thing I was introduced to throughout my stay at ARCHway was recovery housing. The peer support specialists that were working there suggested, hey, why don't you come down, check out the recovery house, we're managers there, we can support you through this process. So I did. I went to recovery house and I was plunged into an immediate healthy social support network with other people who are in recovery, who are going through the same problems that I was going through, but also had experience in the solutions to those, healthy outlets for coping, addressing substance use, mental health, and just modeled recovery in a way that for the first time it appeared obtainable, it appeared attractive, and really gave me the confidence to say, you know, I can do this. I can do this. You know, the peer support specialists that were working at ARCA, that were managing recovery house at that time, had a major impact on my recovery story, as well as what's led me to be here speaking to you guys tonight. It highlighted the effectiveness that peers have in recovery, their effectiveness in housing, as well as the community organizations that support people through the recovery process. It became very evident to me that that is something that I wanted to do, something that I could not think of a better way to give back what had been freely given to me. As my journey in recovery progressed, I was still engaged in medication-assisted treatment, and I was put in a position to take a management role at Recovery House. Now, that role was not a paid position, but at the time, it was one of the most impactful responsibilities that had been given to me up until that point, because I know the impact that those guys had on me. And I wanted to be able to give that back to the next guy in line, to another person that was needing help. You know, through connection at Recovery House, the ARCHway Institute, and ARCA, I got certified as a peer specialist, and I got a job in the treatment field. Through that first job, I was groomed in a clinical setting and really learned how to provide direct services to individuals who are struggling. Peers play a very unique role in the treatment field. They're the connectors between treatment agencies, between housing agencies, between medication providers. And without the help of peers and organizations like ARCHway, people are not getting it. People are not getting plugged in to the resources that they need. One, because they don't know how to navigate the field, or two, they don't even know what resources are available. And that's two examples where peer support specialists and the ARCHway Institute play critical roles to really provide that access and guide individuals, you know, through that process. ARCHway is a connector between treatment, housing, RCOs, community stakeholders, and we work really hard to connect those stakeholders and provide access to care for people who are struggling. But this work cannot be done alone. We cannot fight the addiction epidemic by ourselves. And that's why the community, agencies and stakeholders that we partner with play such a vital role in ARCHway's ability to give back. I was super fortunate when I was in the hospital to have family members and friends that were willing to help me out and plug me in. But if they hadn't shown up at the hospital, if they hadn't called the treatment providers and had $500 to get me in the door, a lot of times the difference between recovery and death is like $500. That's why it's important to support organizations like ARCHway, to donate tonight, to be able to provide that access to care for someone like me, right? These are not nameless, faceless individuals. These are people in our community, your family members, your friends that need that access to care. As a certified peer specialist with EPIC, with the ARCHway Institute, with the MoPros Coalition, and being able to work with organizations like PreventEd and SLU, it's given me the opportunity to provide, life-saving access to care to hundreds of people, right? Which leads me to say, peers in all stages of treatment are critical, right? Through the EPIC Outreach Project, peers provide 24/7 response to emergency departments, behavioral health centers, medical floors. And the reason we use peers through EPIC is because you have a very small window of time to engage a person in that moment of clarity and their willingness to seek treatment resources. But throughout the continuum of their recovery journey, peers can guide them through receiving care, through access to treatment, and then through retention in treatment and connection to community organizations. People do not get better in a silo. It takes a community, it takes a recovery community to help them get better. And so peers throughout that continuum of care really provide the access and the retention and support to really get better. One of the things I feel passionately about is the sustainability of the peer movement. I know the inherent value that peers bring to the treatment teams that they're a part of, to the outreach programs that they facilitate, and to the long-term recovery of the people that they serve. But peers in recovery are not the only form of support, right? There's peers for caregivers. And that's what leads me to talk about ARCHway's Advocates for Hope in the form of individuals in recovery from substance use, but also, peers for caregivers who have loved ones struggling with addiction. Sometimes it takes another caregiver supporting caregivers to really guide them through support, through boundaries, and how to access care. It's important that our peers in recovery, as well as our caregivers, share their recovery stories and their ability to give back and help others to diminish the stigma associated with substance use, mental health, and seeking treatment, to provide education and to help people heal. The ripple effect that the ARCHway Institute has had, that the peer support specialists that we work with have, is market, right? When you help one person get better, it affects their family, their loved ones, the people that they work with, and just giving back to one person has an incredibly valuable impact on the communities that we live in. So I encourage all of you to donate tonight to support the ARCHway Institute. I am so grateful to be able to be here and share my recovery journey with you. Thank you, guys.
Hi, everyone. This is Sharon Baker. Thank you for letting me have a few minutes here to just give my son a pat on the back, our keynote speaker, Colton Baker's mom. And we're just all so proud of him, his family. We are just all proud of him just for the steps that he's taken in the last few years on his road to long-term recovery. It's so hard to see a family member suffer with addiction. And, it's hard for those who love that individual as well. It's such a struggle. You feel lost, you feel isolated. So does the addict. It's a tough situation. So thanks to the grace of God and the help that Colton received from ARCA, Recovery House, and ARCHway, he is now a leader in his field. He is a leader in the fight to end the opioid epidemic. And he battles every day to help stop the stigma that's associated with addiction and co-occurring mental health is just as important as physical health. And I think it's time everybody, we learn to understand that and treat that. Colton is certainly a champion of the underdog. He is the first one to arrive in the emergency room, to the bedside of someone who has overdosed. He's there to share his story, share the hope that he has, and model a successful recovery to others. He will leave in the middle of the night. This year he's left on Christmas and Easter, and he was happy to do so because there was someone in need. And he is the first to help those who are struggling, who are not yet strong enough to fight that fight by themselves. He has worked tirelessly with the St. Louis hospitals here to implement the EPIC project, to get treatment to that individual, get them into recovery, get them medication-assisted treatments, to get the recovery started immediately, so there's no lag time in that. So the person has hope from the get-go. He is continually educating the public, speaking events. He speaks for Prevent Ed, and he educates first responders. He's been to the hospitals to educate the ER staff on the medication-assisted treatment and recovery programs that are so necessary. It's so nice to brag on my son because he doesn't do it for himself. He is such a strong, energetic person. He is a man on a mission. He has an unstoppable drive. He is just truly unstoppable, and he's just an inspiration to his family, and I think to the public that he serves. And Colton, we are just so proud of you, and we all love you so very much. You're killing it.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I am Colton's little sister. And to echo my mom, I am beyond proud of Colton and the man that he has grown to become. For a while, as my mom said, things were really scary, and living through that and seeing him come out on the other side as such a strong, independent fighter has been amazing to watch. And I love that he didn't just stop there. He was able to become successful in his own sobriety, and rather than just moving on, he then doubled back to pull others through that struggle as well. It's been amazing to watch, and he continues to take on more responsibilities and become more involved in the community. And like my mom had stated as well, really helping not only with the struggles with drug addiction, but also in the mental health field as well. He's working hard to make sure that everyone is educated, and the amazing struggles that we went through to find him help are knocking down their door. And it's amazing that Colton is able to be there right when that overdose happens, and is then there to walk them through the process, helping them get whatever is best for them. And it's just amazing to see the parallel, the jump that he's made, and continues to just shine and make all of us so very proud.
And just one more thing too, to see not only Colton, but the other peer support specialists, those who are involved in, ARCHway and Prevent Ed, people who have struggled and now lead recovery houses. We've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of these individuals. And I can tell you that they are the kindest, they have the biggest heart, and they're the hardest people that we've really met. And it is just a tribute to all those who are working in the mental health field and those with addictions, to see people be able to regain their life, their sobriety, and just model for others as well.
Yeah, you're never too far down that road. Colton has proved that to us, and proved it time and time again with those he helps.
So just a quick update. We have our auction is at over $4,100. The lawn care packages are going really well. The Palm Island vacation, the romance and the rain painting. So definitely make sure you guys are bidding and enjoying that auction. Next, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of our national efforts. ARCHway does help people across the country. We have received about 50 requests for assistance, that is either help with resources or financial assistance this year. And sometimes that means that we also provide those from those requests for assistance with grants. We have given out just under $25,000 this year in grants. These grants can range from $250 to $500 all the way to the $12,000 that we were able to give to Charlotte Behavioral Health Care from that tennis and golf event. But Jordan, I wanted to hear from you on how that $500 can really make a difference.
Yeah, I think that the ARCHway grants that we give can make all of the difference. It was all the difference for me. It was all of the difference for many of the guys and gals that I know, some of which are in Recovery House of St. Louis right now. For me, is a $250 grant was the difference between my access and not. And I think that oftentimes that we find that is the difference, unfortunately, but fortunately, because we have the opportunity to be able to give and bridge that gap for ones who desire to step into recovery. Maybe they need a stable environment. Maybe they need just those initial hygiene needs to comfort that person as they step into recovery. Maybe it's transportation. Maybe it's bus tickets to be able to get to and from treatment or to and from work. So I know that it's been a big impact on myself, big impact on guys like Eric Gentry as well. And so I know that we're going to be giving some out tonight.
Yes,
right?
So that's the next. So we're going to be giving away 3 different grants to 3 different recovery organizations. So start.
Our first grant that we're going to be giving out tonight is going to be going to St. Colby Puckett Center for healing. It's a nonprofit clinic in St. Joseph, Missouri, dedicated to helping people find sustained recovery and holistic healing. St. Colby provides outpatient treatment with the knowledge that facing addiction is difficult. And doing so without medical guidance or medical assistance often leads to lower success rates and high rates of relapse. At St. Colby, they use a whole patient approach to recovery that offers office-based medication-assisted treatment and counseling. And their main goal is to not turn anyone away who is seeking recovery. And I know that Sunil Menzies is on the board of St. Colby, and Dustin Smith as the founder and one of the physicians with St. Colby. So that is our first grant that we're giving, and the link to St. Colby Puckett can be found in the chat, I believe, right now, and you'll be able to find that throughout the program as well.
Yes, so our next grant is going to Parents of Addicted Loved Ones, or PAL. PAL is a national nonprofit that provides hope through free education and support to parents of adults dealing with substance use disorder. Family members are often collateral damage in the war on drugs, sacrificing their health, finances, and relationships in an effort to save their addicted loved one. PAL provides the evidence-based education parents need to encourage their loved one's recovery without enabling their addiction. PAL also provides the peer-to-peer support that parents need to face the challenges of addiction. Weekly meetings are held at no charge across the country. Researchers from Northern Arizona University began evaluating the effectiveness of PAL in 2017. Their results were outstanding, and ARCHway is very proud to work with PAL. We just worked with them to do a virtual education and awareness event on enabling versus healthy helping. You can find that video on Vimeo as well. But PAL began as a nonprofit in 2015 and currently has 187 meetings in 41 states. Their goal is to be in all 50 states by the end of the year. So you can find more information about PAL in the chat.
Our final grant recipient is going to go to Nikki's House in Warren, Ohio. I know myself and John Stookey had the opportunity to go through one of their homes to meet Nikki and a few of their members, and I can say that it's very comfortable, a very conducive environment to recovery, great leadership, and there's a testament to that by the women that we had met and the stories that they told us. So they're a nonprofit recovery housing organization that works to provide structured and stable recovery to women impacted by the disease of addiction. They work with women recovering from addiction by assisting them in learning to live lives of long-term recovery, enhancing life skills, and in becoming productive members of society. Nikki's House has 9 beds, and they're grateful for this grant and will utilize it for food for women who are waiting for their food assistance to become available, and for recreational purposes for the women in the house, such as the garden the women grow every year. ARCHway has worked with Nikki's House for several years, and we are happy to support this organization. And once again, you can also find that link in the chat.
So if you work with one of these organizations, I know that there are representatives on tonight, so definitely reach out in the chat, introduce yourselves. This kind of leads me to our May June Hope Fund campaign. So we have been doing quarterly giving campaigns. So We did one in March. We'll do one throughout the months of May and June as well. So you can also apply if you are a recovery-oriented system of care, a recovery house, a treatment provider, an RCO, you can apply. There is a link that's going to go in the chat as well. That campaign will be a continuation of our Igniting Hope theme. We will definitely celebrate our Hope Fund sponsors, our Legacy of Hope sponsors, and all the people and partners who make ARCHway a reality. So, next.
Yeah, no, you can find that link once again in the chat to apply for a grant. We want to be able to give to all, and so if we know there's a need and it's everywhere, and so please hop on there, apply. We'll reach out to you and see, like Emily mentioned, our organizational giving. We can see if you can add you to the bunch. I know that we have a video, I believe, of some of the individuals and the organizations that we have helped over the last 8 years, which has been many. So I know that I've got a chance to take a sneak peek at the video. It's very inspirational and it's emotional filled, and so we're thankful for all the work that you all are doing out in the community, and we've had the chance to be able to give to you.
Hi, I'm Victoria Scanlon. I'm the CEO of Charlotte Behavioral Healthcare in Punta Gorda, Florida.
Hi, I'm Kelly Prunty, Executive Director of Addiction is Real in St. Louis.
Hello, my name is Rick White.
Hi, my name is Dawn Smith, and I am the Executive Director for the Hill Jack House located in St. Louis, Missouri.
Hi, this is Sarah Hornbuckle, Director of Operations for Hornbuckle Foundation out here in Denver, Colorado. We're a sober living placement and recovery coaching program.
My name's Chris Budnick. I'm Executive Director for Healing Transitions in Raleigh, North Carolina. Healing Transitions is a nonprofit organization that serves homeless, uninsured, and underserved individuals in our community.
Hi, my name is Sheila Vandergriff. I'm the Director of Development at Glen Bay, which is located in Northeast Ohio and provides treatment to both inpatient and outpatient treatment for individuals with drug and alcohol addiction.
We are so grateful to ARCHway for their continued support of our drug prevention program, and most recently for partnering with us on our new prevention film for parents called Don't Wait. ARCHway also provides us the opportunity to help others find recovery. We're proud to partner with ARCHway through both our Addiction is Real Hope Fund and the Justin Greenberg Hope Fund. We have been able to accomplish so much more through our partnership than we ever could have done on our own. Thank you, ARCHway, for your support and for all that you do to help individuals and families suffering from addiction.
Last year, ARCHway helped us get 3 different people into sober living who are still in recovery today. We're so grateful for you guys. Thank you.
It's very difficult and challenging in early recovery. And when somebody gives them an opportunity of a safe environment to live and to start their process, it means the world to them and to us. So thank you, ARCHway. You guys do an amazing job. And thank you for all your donors that help make this happen.
We are so thankful. I am so thankful for ARCHway Institute and the work that they have done in our community. They have been a nonstop support for drug-free Punta Gorda, coming alongside of us in the work that we do with the youth in the community. Their volunteer effort coming to our events and working right alongside of us has been so wonderful to us, such an encouragement to us, and we are so appreciative of that. Also coming to be speakers at our meetings and educate our community on the work that they do and how vital it is and how they support prevention to recovery and the complete cycle of breaking the disease of addiction. So we thank you, ARCHway, for working with us, for supporting us financially, and just being there, partners with us in this effort.
I'm thrilled to join ARCHway Institute in showing our support for their efforts to help individuals, families, and communities through awareness, recovery, community, and health. ARCHway Institute has provided Healing Transitions with grants. These grants have been essential to helping provide services to those who are unable to provide services for themselves, who don't have insurance and don't have money. The grants that they've provided allow us to provide over a month at a time of service to an individual at a cost of $37 per person per day. We're excited to find out that there's more advocates out there, individuals like Dan and Jan and Emily, who are putting a face and voice to recovery. We want to thank ARCHway Institute and say congratulations on a successful event.
I'm Bill Permel, Sheriff of Charlotte County, down here in beautiful Charlotte County, Florida, and I want to talk to you about our Drug Addiction Recovery Initiative. This initiative helps connect people who want to find recovery with recovery, and we've partnered with ARCHway to help us raise money for this program. This way, money does not become a hindrance for those who want recovery.
Would like to take this time to thank ARCHway for scholarshiping a young gentleman by the name of Mark. In January, Mark contacted Intracoastal Sober Living and wanted to come down and live in our sober living residence. ARCHway scholarshiped Mark for a few weeks and paid his rent, enabling Mark to get on his feet. Mark at that point had no source of income and wanted to move into sober living to continue his phase in treatment and sober living. Mark came down to Florida in January, and he currently is working full-time, paying his own rent, and working a 12-step program.
You know, a lot of times it is that initial funding to get into recovery housing, or it's, I have absolutely no clue who to trust at this point because I've gone to so many different treatment programs, or my child has been to so many different treatment programs and nothing is working, and just guiding them toward the right resource at that moment. So just figuring out what they need and how we can step in to lift them up.
So we have a program called the Christmas Angel Mission, and this year we did not know what to do because of CDC guidelines. We knew we couldn't have big parties for the children. Usually we serve the children of prisoners and also those that are addicted to drugs and alcohol to help the parents through this crisis and certainly to show our love for them and their children. What we found out over the years is we started this in 1985, and we found out that each of those parents sitting in jail, prison, or those addicted, they love their children as much as we do, but because of them being caught up in their illness, they cannot provide for them. It's a very difficult time of year, and sometimes that just makes it worse for their addiction. So we were really thankful that organizations and especially ARCHway Institute and many of our local churches and other organizations came together. They were not going to let this Christmas angel season pass without helping us and finding a way that we could continue to bless these children.
We are very grateful to what ARCHway provides to the community, as they do offer both scholarships for people to receive treatment, both inpatient and outpatient, and also they provide scholarship support for individuals in need of sober living assistance.
My name is Cody Guthrie. Because of the ARCHway Hope Grant, I was able to get released from incarceration and get scholarship to the Next Step Recovery Housing. Today I'm clean, employed, working a successful program of recovery and living a great life. Thank you to the ARCHway Hope Foundation.
Everyone, we are, just so you guys know, we have so much to tell you that we are about 15 minutes over our time, so stick with us. We have a few more things to talk to you guys about. And so the next part is really about some of the education that ARCHway does. So I like to say that we educate on the realities of substance use and co-occurring mental health disorders. So Jordan, what do you think are some of the realities of the disease?
I think some of the realities of the disease is that it's a family disease, right? It's that everyone, that's close to the loved one that is just struggling feels the effects. It feels like it feels very personal, right? It may sometimes feel like it's like they are doing something to you, or it's a lack in love or a lack in willpower. But as we've learned, right, that it's very much a disease. It's not a choice. And what we're seeing is the symptoms of that disease. And ARCHway understands that, and we want to be here to help you navigate that path with you. We know that it's very difficult. It's very difficult on my family. And during that time, you're undergoing all the stress and turmoil, and don't exactly know where to turn. You don't know, what is the right resource? Where do I go? How can I help my loved one? And we want it to be our hands that help them so badly. But oftentimes we know that it's not those hands, that because we're so emotionally tied, it's hard to have full clarity on what is going on. So ARCHway wants to be those most appropriate hands for you. We want you to feel comfortable turning to us. Maybe, and that may come in a form of the caregiver advocate for hope. It may come in the form of the peer advocates for hope. There's many different avenues that I guess that we can, receive those requests and then help walk with you. But just know that we are here for you. And like Prevent Ed is, we're a place to turn. We want you to turn to us, and we're here for you. And so that's a little bit about what I have to say on it.
Your reality. And I'll also add that substance use is often accompanied by mental health disorders. I always questioned, does a mental health disorder cause a substance use disorder, or does a substance use disorder lead to a mental health disorder? And I think it's a little bit, it's on both sides of that equation. It's yes to both of those. And like Jordan said, I always say recovery is on both sides, for the person impacted by the substance use disorder and for the caregiver. So I like all of the things he said. We're going to continue with a little bit more education around in terms of ARCHway's new book. So you're not going to be watching a video next that's just, boring. So it's going to be interesting, but it's about ARCHway's book called Igniting Hope, which is available on Amazon today. You'll get to see some of the faces and voices of people in recovery and of the ARCHway community. So enjoy. Another way ARCHway ignites hope is through our education and awareness opportunities. We incorporate education into all of our events, and we've recently instituted in 2020 virtual education and awareness events on a variety of topics, from care of the caregiver to trauma-informed care. We also released a book called Igniting Hope that is available on Amazon. And the purpose of the book is to share the hope that recovery is possible.
Well, I'm excited to talk about the book because Igniting Hope takes you through the process of recovery, and it shows you that hope is possible with the help of other people. We can't do the heavy lifting for the person in recovery, but we can be there to take their hand and hold it until they can see the light of the recovery themselves.
ARCHway helps to connect people to treatment and recovery resources, and eventually people realize that those solutions they do work when they work them.
Igniting Hope gives us a guiding light through the recovery process. It starts with the personal story of addiction. From that addiction, we find out that there's hope in recovery. As that hope is realized, we find out that recovery is not only possible, but there's also wonder in it. And then we take all of that energy, and the book concludes with the vision of ARCHway and how it has grown into the community of ARCHway, the people of ARCHway.
The book begins with information gathering around the realities of addiction, and it also shares the avenues or the pathways that you can go on to reach recovery. And it really encourages that kind of support along that process. And then in the end, you really see that challenge to kind of give back and grow the community as well.
From the book, as Emily said, we take those 4 elements, the information gathering, the educational, the encouragement, and finally the growth to promote recovery. It takes all of those elements, and through these authentic stories, it starts a ripple or a current effect, like a current coming down a river, and it picks up stuff on the way. And finally, it gets to the end, and it shows you the whirlwind effect that recovery can have, not just to the person who's in recovery, but to other people they tell their story to.
I like to call that sometimes the light of recovery. So when one person recovers, that person tends to help the next person who helps the next person. That's the same for caregivers. When the caregiver recovers as well, that caregiver goes back and helps the next person. Tonight is also about bringing faces and voices to those in recovery. And you can read the book, and I welcome you to do that, but you're also going to have a chance tonight to actually hear from some of the people who are mentioned in the book.
Innocence. This is true innocence. And if the teacher went around the classroom asking each child what they want to be when they grow up, the answers would be things like doctor, veterinarian, teacher, princess, athlete, astronaut, ballerina. One thing that won't come out of their precious little mouth is, when I grow up, I want to be an addict. I want to choose alcohol over my family. I want to lose everything just so I can learn my lesson and pick myself up again. I want to depend on a drug to keep me from being sick or having anxiety at parties. No one grows up hoping for these things, but unfortunately, it does happen. And unfortunately, it is happening to our children.
I think what led me to substance use in the beginning was it was socially accepted and socially available.
I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I didn't know where I belonged. So I think drugs and alcohol became a way for me to try to escape and to try to feel like I was somebody other than myself.
I always had like really low self-esteem, low self-worth, was shy, quiet. So alcohol and drugs kind of made me feel better about myself and be able to talk to people, and just made me feel, normal.
I had so much guilt and shame around what I had not accomplished at that point. I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want anyone to see me back home not achieving the things that I thought I was going to achieve, or maybe they thought I was going to achieve. It was just too much to bear, so that was like settling.
I think what led me to realize that I had a true substance use disorder was twofold. One being, once I finally did make a decision that I wanted to stop using substances, I couldn't do it. I could not sustain recovery for extended periods of time. And that's where certified peer specialists modeling recovery in an effective way, as well as access to Vivitrol, were really the two most impactful things that led me to be able to sustain recovery long term, both from a medication assisted treatment standpoint as well as from a community engagement perspective that made recovery seem appealing, seemed sustainable, and was really modeled in a way that made me want to engage.
I started losing things because of it, and then I couldn't stop. So, it was losing jobs and losing relationships and losing housing. And it became drinking was the way to cope with the things that I had lost without really the recognition that I lost those things because of drinking.
One thing I would want people to, know and understand about the reality of addiction is, people can and do get better, but they're not going to with limited to no resources. So whether it be an individual standpoint, a family standpoint, or a community at large standpoint, we really need to provide ready access to individuals who are struggling and put them in positions where they can get better.
We oftentimes tell our patients it affects your loved ones, your caregivers, more than it affects you.
You know, everyone was choosing substances over me. Like I had that typical mindset. But really it wasn't. Like I didn't understand the disease of addiction.
You woke up anxious, you woke up frustrated, you moved into the day and you went to anger. And then there was always the fear. Were you going to get the phone call that your loved one was in a hospital? Was it from the morgue asking you to come identify the body? Or was it from a prison? And would you accept the collect call?
The peer support specialist really was the difference maker in my recovery story. At one point in time, I asked some of the peers that helped me, I was like, how can I pay you back for this? He just kind of laughed and said, I'm good. Pass it on to the next person. And that statement, that had a profound impact, not only on the way that I viewed recovery, but a way in which I wanted to live.
Peers can walk into a room and talk to a person who is still suffering with addiction and say, I understand how you feel. That's just something that you can't quantify. You know, you either get it or you don't. And it's okay if you don't, but the power of peers is that you do.
Peers, probably better than most, understand how to meet the individual in recovery exactly where they're at because they've been there. And so we know how hard to push. We know when not to push. We know what to push on. And we know how to help the individual prioritize the 50,000 things they're told they have to handle on day 2.
ARCHway really tries to figure out where the gaps in care are and help fill those gaps in care. And so my purpose when I go into conversations with other organizations, treatment providers, housing providers, RCOs, prevention, is to find out what their gaps are, what their barriers are, and how ARCHway can help. It's the same with the people we help. What's your current barrier and how can ARCHway help?
So as an advocate for Hope for ARCHway, I'm there to turn to, right? Whether that just be someone to talk through a situation, to help navigate through some resources, and maybe even to connect them to those resources. But I'm there to help that initial process become easier and smoother.
I've been able to impact change through the ARCHway Institute through a number of different ways, but one being the Advocates for Hope program. I've been able to, answer the phone for individuals who are struggling. I've been able to plug them into recovery housing, to treatment, to medication providers. I've been able to provide support to loved ones needing help, doing professional and community education with Prevent Ed, the speaking engagements and sharing my story. It wasn't until I heard stories of hope that I began to believe in the recovery process. So I hope that by sharing my story, I can inspire others to engage in the recovery process. And not only that, but to give back when they have the opportunity to.
Most people want to feel a part of something, right? And they want to, whether it's a family, a team, a group, and you go to one of those, ARCHway dinners, you feel like you're part of like a dynasty.
ARCHway has always been about hope, wrapping our arms around people, giving them the hope that they need to move from this stage to the next stage to the next stage.
The story and the legacy of ARCHway and the lessons we learned from John's recovery then ultimately is not about what happens, or will we fall down, or will we be hurt, or will we suffer. It is about how we respond to those challenges and that adversity that ultimately tell our legacy and our story.
I challenge you after reading this book to be changed by what you read. Know that part of your fate was reading and learning about addiction and mental health. Be inspired to do something different. I also challenge you to find the fire within your own soul. What gives you the passion to keep going? What are your hopes and your dreams? What is your fate? When you figure it out, go for it. Don't let anyone or anything stop handicap you, because with your work and God's help, anything is possible. Back, everyone. So I did want to talk about one final educational piece that ARCHway has done recently. So we recently collaborated with the Bosnian Opioid Project and Labor's Local 110 to add subtitles to 2 videos. One is the Parents of Addicted Loved Ones video that we did on enabling versus healthy helping. The other is a United Way video that Don Willie is featured in. So we are very excited that we were able to add Bosnian and Spanish subtitles. The goal really there is to help all people and show the need for all people to have this kind of education. So you guys have noticed that Colton Baker, hi.
It's okay.
The reflection here is confusing me, guys. So Colton Baker is joining us. So thanks, Colton, for joining. Tell us, what have you enjoyed so far about the show?
It has been awesome to watch from behind the scenes and just see how all the comments, all the videos that we've made in the process of this. But it was especially touching seeing the video that my mom and sister did and hearing them talk about my recovery journey and the ways in which they helped me through that process. So it was really, really cool to see that video tonight.
And I know that tonight has been all about igniting hope. And thus far, we have ignited our fund to a little over 123,000, which is a little shy of our target of 150,000. So there is still time to go on and to make donations, to check out our silent auction, take a glance at the Fund in Need, or even some of the Hope Fund sponsors. I know that I've given myself to the Marcy Smith Hope Fund, so I encourage you all to take a look as well. And you can find those links to donate in the chat.
And we also wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the need in the recovery community. So we've all heard the news recently. Because of COVID-19, we're seeing an increase in need across the board, an increase in diagnoses of substance use disorder, mental health disorders, an increase in overdose rates and relapses, just an increase in need. ARCHway has seen that need. We've actually had over 50 requests for assistance, either funding requests or requests for help, a place to go. So, and just to give you a comparison, we had 80 requests for assistance all year last year. So if that rate continues, we're going to triple that, if not more. So I have Colton and Jordan here. They are very active in the recovery community, so I wanted them to talk a little bit too about the needs they're seeing.
Yeah, and like Emily said, our Advocate for Hope calls are exponentially higher than last year, and I think that that relates to what we see in our overdose numbers as well. And it's prior to COVID ever showing up, I heard addiction referred to as a disease of isolation, and and recovery, part of the recovery process being connection. So I think that as it's been mentioned, that it is a disease of isolation, and then we have an unexpected, abrupt pandemic show up that kind of pushes everyone to have to adjust to a virtual world, which is an adjustment period. But we're doing so within this opioid epidemic, and it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle on the ones that are struggling with substance use or mental illness, and even those that have typically do not. So that's I think that's just a little tidbit of why we have seen our numbers go up. But I'm hopeful. While I always want Advocate for Hope calls to be able to help. I'm hopeful that those overdose numbers drop the rest of this year and into next year.
I mean, Jordan, you made a lot of good points. I think talking about the way that COVID's led to enhanced isolation, right, which leads to exacerbated negative mental health symptoms, okay? And so when you have that, you see a rise in unhealthy coping mechanisms up to and including alcohol, substance use, et cetera. And when you see that, I mean, the statistics show it over and over. You look at, I mean, just epic outreach data locally. You see a rise in overdose events, a rise in overdose deaths. And so really being able to provide that community resource, that community engagement, even if it's a presentation online, being able to provide those community resources is incredibly important. I want to encourage everybody to check our links online, watch the videos we posted there, provide access to care, resources, and healthy coping throughout a difficult time.
And I know even, as the holidays show up, we have our holiday campaign, and there's a lot of material that we've created in the past and will continue to do so that can be helpful to get through the holidays.
And so I'll just add to another way to give through ARCHway is through our ARCHway Hope Fund or by becoming a Legacy of Hope sponsor. So our Hope Fund is our primary vehicle for being able to give grants to these recovery-oriented systems of care to really increase access for the individuals and their families to get into recovery and succeed in recovery. Our Legacy of Hope, on the other hand, is a way to build ARCHway into your estate planning, build ARCHway into your legacy through things like memorial contributions, IRA distributions, and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's just another way to give. We are very, very grateful for our Hope Fund sponsors. They have donated anywhere between $5,000 and $25,000 over the span of multiple years. Their continued support is needed. And Jordan and Colton also have Hope Funds in their name. So really quickly, how does it feel to have a Hope Fund in your name, or why is it important to you that you have a Hope Fund?
Having a Hope Fund, in the beginning of my recovery journey, I never thought I would have a Hope Fund in my name, but to see the individuals that I've impacted in a positive manner and being able to connect people to the same resources that I needed in my recovery process is one of the most fulfilling things that you can see, right? Being able to give back to others what was given to you. And so to have a Hope Fund means I get to impact an individual, their family, community organizations, and really to give back what was given to me. So it's incredibly important.
Yeah, hit it on the head, and I'm honored to have something in my name that has the ability to pass through funds and give to organizations that we believe in, right? That are doing great work, and we've had the opportunity to build relationships with these organizations, and so it's super cool, when you see that email go through that someone has been granted, a scholarship or a grant in your name. It's just it's hard to find the words to describe how that feels. So it's an honor.
On that note, we're gonna run through our many thank yous.
First and foremost, thank you to our ARCHway Hope Fund and our Legacy of Hope sponsors.
Thank you to our auction donors, our sponsors.
And thank you to everyone who attended tonight. Take what you heard and share it.
We also want a special thank you to David Pitt and Danny Schriefer, who helped with some of the pre-recorded material, along with the Liuna Event Center for volunteering space for the pre-recording session. Colton, I think that you have a couple specifics that you'd like a shout out.
Yeah. I want to say thank you to James Klein within Spanish Media for helping with the pre-production as well as tonight's full-length production.
And thank you to T-Rex. That's where we are tonight. Their space downtown. We've been able to utilize. They provided us with the space. And also to Don Willie and Labor's Local 110. They are huge supporters of ARCHway. We could not do this work without them. And I couldn't have done this without all of my wonderful ARCHway volunteers, and especially the committee that came together for this particular event. So just a few names to read out. So Donna and Dave Whiteley, Dan and Jan Stuckey, Pam Greenberg, Brian Hevesy, Rhonda Jackson, along with Jordan, Colton, and myself. Special thanks to Dan, Jan, and John Stuckey for the work and dedication that they have put into ARCHway's mission for the last 8 years. It definitely wouldn't be where it is without them. And so, yeah, that is, we're just about done. We're just about concluding our performance. We have one special thing to leave you with. We are going to close out the event with a special song. The Matt Willey Hope Fund was created to honor Matt Willey's life. Matt passed away due to his substance use disorder in 2016. His Hope Fund remains as a way to light the way for others who are struggling. And Matt was a huge fan of music. He wrote a lot of music. And at our last concert, Phil Ghilambardo and Christine Harrington put Matt's words to music and created this song. So they're going to perform for us tonight. We want to thank all our ARCHway Hope Fund and Legacy of Hope sponsors. These sponsors continue to support ARCHway year after year, and we couldn't be more grateful to them for their dedication to our mission of helping those impacted by substance use and co-occurring mental health disorders. Together, we are helping people recover.
Isn't it sad to see me fall, but you couldn't get through? I put up a wall. What else could I do? I've burned all my bridges that led me to you. My bridges have all burned down. I set the fire and watched them burn to the ground. Couldn't put out the flame. I'll take all the blame. Paradise lost, never to be found. I've run it into the ground. Isn't life grand? Destroying my inner man. My bridges have all burned down. I set the fire and watched them burn to the ground. Couldn't put out the flame. I'll take all the blame. Shouldn't be surprising to see there's not much left of me. I've used and abused myself, left the carnage for someone else. My bridges have all burned down. I set the fire and watched them burn to the ground. Couldn't put out the flame. I'll take all the blame. What else could I do? I've burned all my bridges that led me to.
Boom, boom, boom.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here tonight. We really hope that you enjoyed the show.
Friendly reminder to everybody, the silent auction closes in about 15 minutes at 8:30.
And if you liked what you heard tonight, you can find more of that material at the ARCHwayinstitute.org. That link is posted in the chat. And with that, that concludes tonight's event. Thank you all for coming. Good night.
Thank you guys.
Isn't it sad to see me fall? But you couldn't get through. I put up a wall. What else could I do? I've burned all my bridges that led me to you. My bridges have all burned down. I set the fire and watched them burn to the ground. Couldn't put out the flame. I'll take all the blame. Paradise lost never to be found. I've run it into the ground. Isn't life grand? Destroying my inner man. My bridges have all burned down. I set the fire and watched them burn to the ground.